Hi everyone. It's just before 8 o'clock. It's about 10 minutes to 8, so I'll wait until 8 o'clock, but really this is just trying to get the technology up and running and just share it to places like Facebook and get people sort of ready to rock and roll on this technology. So give me a couple of minutes. I'll just write a few little messages here to get people ready to go. Hopefully we'll be underway shortly. Okay. It's it's about 7:52. We'll probably get underway just before 8, just to give people a few minutes to come along and join us. Hope everyone's having a great night. It's 10 to 8 on a Tuesday evening. This is normally the time I'm doing a free watercolor demonstration. Tonight I'm doing something a little bit different. Hopefully I have a few little, well, I wouldn't say Christmas presents, but a few things to unwrap and to have a look at. So hopefully if you've seen the label on the Facebook page, you'll know what it's all about. So it's not rocket science, but it's something new to me. I've had a try of one or two of these products, but I'd really like to put them to the test. So hopefully we might get a few of you looking at this later on and see what it's like, see what they're like. I'll just post this out and about to people. Check my social media, which is so important nowadays in order to do anything really. An online presence seems to be, a bit of a go-to to connect to like-minded people who are doing the sort of things that we're all doing. Whether that be professional or artistic or otherwise, or something else. I'll just send a few messages here and there. If you can bear with me, looking at the screen in a sort of a weird way for a tick, I'll just get a few of these little messages out to the different groups. Okay. Hopefully that won't be too much of a bombshell. Oh, okay. No, the thing is I'm just letting a few people know around on Facebook about what I'll be having a go at, and the more the merrier. Okay, well, we're almost set anyway. 2 or 3 minutes and we'll sort of get into it. It's, yeah, we're combining a couple of things this evening. And it should be okay. 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 I think we can pretty much start. It's just a minute or two before 8. I think we'll just get into it. Okay. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. It's 8 o'clock, or coming up to 8 o'clock Brisbane time, so GMT plus 10. That's more than likely around 2 o'clock in Europe, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Tuesday afternoon in Europe. That's London and European mainland. So I just wanted to welcome you from there and from other parts of the world if you're streaming and watching that. Today, I thought I'd just try something a little bit different. I received well, I could say I've received a bit of a present from our friends NEVSKAYA PALITRA, the White Knights people in St. Petersburg. Elena from that company contacted me and was interested if I was keen to have a crack at painting with those paints. I thought I'd give it a go. I've seen 1 or 2 of the tubes and tried 1 or 2 of them before, so I didn't really know much about the paints. I had bumped into the stand at the Fabriano Festival in Fabriano, Italy in 2018 and met some people there at the stand. In fact, it may very well have been her there, I don't know, but we can sort of talk about that in the future. So what happened was that I had some paints supplied to their representatives here in Australia, and from there they sent them to me, and a couple of weeks ago I received them. I had been fairly busy up until that point, so I wanted to do something special with the paints. I didn't really want to just you know, crack them open and have a bit of a paint and then sort of tell people afterwards, but I wanted to really do something focused on these paints. So what I've done is I've pulled out the paints. I've got them here out of their beautiful little box, as you can see. NEVSKAYA Palitra. This is a 24 tube pack. They are 10 mils each, and 10 mils of paint in each of the tubes. There are a number of amazing colours. I won't go and identify every colour, although I can quickly run through them. That may very well be the one thing to do. They are both in English and Russian. We have lemon, we have cadmium lemon, cadmium yellow medium, in Russian yellow ochre, obviously, golden deep, cadmium orange, English red, cadmium red light, ruby, carmine, Madder Lake red light, and then the last one on the top line is quinacridone lilac. On the bottom line, so we're now into the last 12, we have cerulean blue, bright blue, we have cobalt blue, ultramarine, turquoise blue, emerald green, green light, green, raw sienna, umber, sepia, and lamp black. So those are the 24 colours that came in the pack. I won't use every one of them tonight. In fact, I'll probably do this session and another session over another night, or maybe 2 sessions until I've actually tried them all the paints. So tonight isn't really just a demo on let's try each colour. I'll open up the tubes onto a fresh and crisp new palette. This is just a little temporary palette, but I thought I'd just open them up onto a new palette and see what they look like, how they feel and how they mix with water. And then I have a painting that I've selected. It's something relatively colourful. It's a coastal scene, but it's something relatively colourful, so I'll get to use the colours that I like using, and then I'll try and find something which really stretches even me with colours to try all the other colours in the palette as well. I'm not so used to using lots of green. I like to mix greens, but nonetheless there are a number of greens here, so I'll give those a go as well. And likewise with the warmer, the reds, the lilacs, there's not a lot that I use specifically because I like to mix from only 11 or 12 colours, but I'll give them all a go at some stage, and so we'll see what happens. I'll play with those. So in terms of what the colours look like, they are, I mean, obviously they're all, it's a beautiful pack like this. You get 24 colours as they are there, and each of them look like, nicely contained 10mm tubes, sort of like so. So they do come sealed, so there's no monkey business with opening them up and having the paint splurt out. They are sealed from within. You can see the end, it's sealed, so there's no leakage possibility. And I have a tool to open this. It's a little bit crude, but it does the trick. It's my 100mm beautiful wood screw, and that does the trick for me. It's actually brand new, so I have to muck around with something old and nasty, but nonetheless. So what I'll do is I'll put across the view to the other camera, and so I'll start putting some of these colours out onto my palette. I'll pick a few. I don't like to use black, but I'll try the lamp black as a token gesture. Not that the image is necessarily going to have a lot of those tones in it. I'll show you the image in a little while, but I will inevitably show you the image as a quick screen grab. You'll have a look at that, and we'll see how we go from there. I haven't actually set it up on the screen grab. I might have to do a little bit of trickery to get that to happen. If not, I may just have to wing it and somehow get it across. In fact, before I set over, I'll just pick up that image now. So it is okay. It's that one. So I'll just, in fact, I'll find it right now and set it up on the screen for you, and we'll go from there. So okay, I'm in the right place. That image is that one. J. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, grab that. Yep, I'm pretty close now. Let's grab that there. Turn that on. Oh, beautiful. Okay, we're ready to go. That was simple. That was simple to go. Okay, so I've got my palette. I've got the colours on the board. I'll just transition over to the other shot, and away we go. And then we can sort of play around. You'll sort of see the photo. So as we change, and I'll do that now. So as we change, you'll see here I am. I'm still here in this corner, top left. So down here is the image. It's a shot of Dubrovnik. This is an image. That image is from Pixabay. Pixabay is where you can pull down images, free images to use for exercises just like this. So that is an image created by John Wainhart, and he's uploaded, in fact this particular image is by John Wainhart from unsplash.com. Unsplash is another website where you can pull these images down and really sort of have a use, for purposes like this. I'm not going to be recreating a photograph, so there's no fear of it looking exactly like that. But whatever I do create will have some impression of that. It's just a nice image. It's got some beautiful aquatic colours. and there are some nice golden yellows and oranges. So, you know, without going nuts and distributing all of these colours out onto the page, I'll pick a few because there might be some nice. There are some nice colours here for sure. Of course, warm colours and cool colours. So with our warm colours, lemon, cadmium yellow, medium. There's obviously the yellow ochre and the cadmium yellow I'll tend to use. So let's try this one here, which is a cadmium yellow medium. So we'll try that with our tool. Just give it a little bit of a poke in there. So let's give it a go. So Cad Yellow, try that one first. Here we go. A little bit of that colour. And without putting too much pressure in it, says a little bit of yellow. I don't know how much of these colours I'm going to necessarily use, but I'll just use a little bit as we go. So that's the first of our colours. This is our yellow ochre. I like the way the colour is actually a little bit, it seems a little bit lighter than what a true yellow ochre would look like, but I've noticed that a number of different manufacturers just come up with slightly different versions of this. So I don't religiously keep schedules of all the different colours by different manufacturers. I know some people like to do that as a sort of a reference point and a sort of a point of, you know, almost a little bit like a, you know, an inspector or spy catcher type of thing where everyone's sort of really interested in the nuances, scientific nuances between colours. I don't really do that. I just paint with the colours. Now we've got some oranges. We've got some gorgeous roofs. You can see some really nice orange roofs in this image over here. So I'm thinking golden deep. Golden deep. I don't know what that colour is. It looks like an orange. Obviously, I'll get to the raw sienna in a minute. But I want to try this orange deep. Gee, that looks pretty special. Wow. So what's that? That is golden deep. Looks like a really interesting orange. Yeah, it's like a mid-orange for want of another word. But then you've got cad orange as well. So we've gone with the orange deep in this case. A few reds, maybe something like English red. I've not tried. Oops, that didn't go so well. I've not tried some of these colours. So let's have a look at what this English red is like. English red. I'll just get a little bit of water. It's going to be interesting. I've not used too many of these. Oh, okay. It's like a brick red. It's sort of somewhere between. Okay, it's between a red and a brown. So, like a very flat burnt sienna in a way. It doesn't have as much brown as a burnt sienna there. So that's that one. Carmine. We've got cad red. We've got ruby. Cadmium red. Don't know that we're going to need too much in the reds, but that's okay. I think we'll go with. Let's try some of these, some of these typical sort of colours we've got. I'm really keen to try the turquoises. So cerulean blue. I think we've got a little bit of cerulean blue here. So let's use some of our cerulean blue. And I hope. Oh, yeah, that's very much like. Oh, I love that. That looks like a really nice colour. So I've got a cerulean blue. That's good. I love my blues and greens. I don't know why. I only have one green on my palette. So my normal palette is, here's my normal palette. This is what I normally keep and what I normally use. So I'll put it around the way I use it normally. So here are my blues and my cool colours. There's a few rubbish and empty ones here. But then I have orange, red, burnt sienna, transparent red oxide, raw sienna, yellow ochre, viridian green. But before we get to viridian green and then Hansa yellow deep, this is the M. Graham one. I'm going to now try the I've got bright blue. I've not tried bright blue. I'll stick to my traditional ones at this stage. So that's a cerulean. And now I'll go cobalt. Cobalt, I think I've used this cobalt before. It may be one of the few colors that I have used from NEVSKAYA Palitra. And that looks really nice. Cobalt blue. That actually looks a lot darker than what I would have. No, actually not. No, I tell a lie. That's about right. That's about right for the blue. For the cobalt. Then obviously French Ultra. I'll take a little bit of French Ultra. Is that French? No, just ultramarine. Ultramarine is the color. Blue ultramarine. Yeah, blue ultramarine. Yeah, beautiful. So I'll just pop a hole in that one. Throw a little bit of ultramarine in there. Now I do really want to try one of these turquoises, but I find that if I just put in a turquoise, I'm going to miss out on the green, and I really want those warm greens in the bottom of the picture. Those sort of the ones right down by the beach, the warmish ochre greens. So I really need either an emerald green, or the turquoise. I think the light green I suspect is going to be just far too light for that. Whereas the emerald is very much like a viridian green. So in that sort of closeness, turquoise blue. Might leave turquoise and I'll try the emerald. See what the emerald. Now I'll work my way through all of these colours over the next couple of painting sessions doing this, but I really just want to give this emerald a go. So we've got some warm colours, we've got some cool colours, and I'll finish up with a little bit of this emerald. Fingers crossed. I'm pretty sure I know what it's going to look like, but we'll see. We'll see. So I'll put that back in there. I'm not worried about the black. In fact, I can mix it from the colours that I have here already. In fact, there's probably one colour, the alizarin crimson. I didn't see any alizarin crimson in the list in this series. That's okay. It may come up. It may very well be something like carmine, or even the quinacridone lilac. That when I mix, see, even if I make the use cadmium red. Now let's just use cadmium red. I know I use the red, the British English red on my palette, but I'm really keen to perhaps try one of these other reds. I might just do that over here so that in one of these other areas, just so that I have it as a backup for when I need to make some of these greys. And I tend to make some of these, that looks really nice. So I'll just use this pan here in this corner. So this will be my other paint corner. And I'll use all the other trays as mixing trays. So we'll give it a go. Okay, so those are our 10 mil paints. Now it's a case of putting this one away so we don't use this, and we'll really just give this paint tray a little bit of a run for its money, along with the paints. Excuse me. The brushes I'm going to be using tonight are very much the same brushes that I've been using for all my painting, which are NEF. They're manufactured by an Australian company called NEF brushes, NEF Australia. They make beautiful natural fibre as well as synthetic fibre brushes. So I've been talking to I've had a couple of conversations with the people down there about some of these brushes. I wasn't happy originally with some of the manufacturing of them. They tended to fall apart, but I'm hoping that they've some of those particular brushes are just, you know, from initially working with them, they've sort of started to fall apart. So I still use NEF though, with a different range. Steel mops, the Kazan range of brushes, they're gorgeous as well. They're synthetics. So generally the ones that I'm using are synthetic brushes, although this red one here is an Alvaro Castañer series brush. It's a natural fibered squirrel hair. So a lot of them, they're all mops, not, I have a round, but most of the paintbrushes that I use are either mops or riggers that are very similar in nature to those. So those will be the weapon of choice for tonight, and we'll see how we go. Okay, so I'm not going to talk too much now. Now it's really just a case of checking out the paints, which is really why we're here. So this little scene, it's a little scene of Dubrovnik. As you can see, I've worked up a little bit of a pencil sketch to this. I'm not really so concerned about making this perfect as a painting. I'm really just interested in having a crack at these paints and just seeing what these paints can do. So, you know, you may find that I'll even start, you know, diving off on a tangent somewhere, trying something a bit different. So not only am I going to try the paint, I'm probably just going to have a bit of a play around with how I lay those paints down, and you might find that, you know, at the end of the day, the painting ends up a bit of a you know, not so worthy of the effort, but it's, you know, I'm really just trying to see how these paints come out. So I've also prepared the palette. The palette, when you buy these plastic crappy palettes, they all come very shiny, and they bead, all the paint beads. So I've tried to prepare, maybe not say prepared, I've tried to prepare the palette as best as I can so that I don't end up with too much of the beading taking place. So we'll see how we go. Anyway, I'm going to start from the sky, work my way down, merge into that some beautiful oranges and some warm greys for the building elevation, throwing in some soft oranges and keeping my little highlights of the little white roofs and little trinkets of little bits of white along the tops of the roofs here and there. And then just wash down through, you know, through some cobalts and some French ultras and some turquoises and get some greens happening. So this painting should generally happen fairly quickly. But anyway, let's see how we go. So I'm really keen on seeing how these colours hold on the brush, and I know that already a difference or a similarity I can say is there's a really nice creaminess to the cerulean. One thing I really enjoy about cerulean paint, cerulean as a colour, in a way it's a little bit like the way yellow ochre reacts, and that is it's fairly opaque. So what I've found is when I use cerulean, I really enjoy the milkiness or the opacity of a cerulean when I'm painting. For me, it's almost like adding white. So the fact that this one is a very nice creamy cerulean blue is already a big bonus as far as I'm concerned, because it's a colour I enjoy painting with. So that's great, and the cobalt's got a nice sort of colour to it. Anyway, so here we go, a bit of water. This is all going to happen fairly quick. I'll move that mouse out of the way. I'll put the water here because I'll need it fairly close. So here we go. Get a lot of water up into this space. Let's get a bit more of this cobalt in there, just so that I can get a little bit of cobalt sprinkling up through there. Okay. A little bit around the edges. Let's break up some of these edges so we don't get too many hard and fixed edges. And then we sort of down, 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 down. That's okay. Remember, this is just a bit of a practice. Okay, I mean, it's a painting, but it's more about just having a play with these colours. So I'm not really that overly concerned with, you know, exactness here and there. I'll treat it like any other painting, you know, pretty much. A little bit of blue gun there. Okay. There's my rag there. The paper that I'm using too, by the way, is Saunders Waterford. It's 300 GSM. Yeah, 300 GSM. Rough. So that might give you a bit of an idea as to, you know, I really like painting with texture. So I really try to make sure that the paper is going to work for me and not against me. So there's a little bit of the colour happening there. Okay, so now that's a little bit of the quick sky. Wow, that's glorious, glorious orange. What is that colour again? That's the colour that I used. The colour that I used is Golden Deep. That's great. Love that. But now, you know, now I need to mix it with a little bit of the, let's get a little bit of that English red happening. Now that's a sort of a browny orange. Yeah, browny orange, need to lighten it up a bit. So let's just get a little bit of water happening in some of those. And I'm going to just start really dropping some of these colours in. I'm not going to wait for this blue to dry. I'll be here for all day for that to happen. So what I will do is I'll just start dropping some orange down into these roos. Just get these tones out of the way. Now they might be a little bit dark here and there, that's okay. Little touches of red, orange. Little flecks. You know, adding a little bit of ochre here and there just to vary that a little bit, so it's not just the one tone. Maybe just painting with yellow ochre in a way, almost not so much by itself, but just changing the tone a little bit. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just wash some of these surfaces with, you know, an orange and ochre wash, and then go back and pick up some of these real clear orange tones and sort of the grey walls as I go. So a number of different tones of orange, really. That needs to be darker. Leaving some white. Yeah, just having a bit of a play, really. I'm thinking if I paint everything with orange and then go back over and do the greys, that's better than, you know, picking out individual little pieces here and there too much. Otherwise it just becomes a bit of a minefield to try and, you know, sort of negotiate. So directly below that, I think there's a little red, sort of red orangey roof about there. Then there's another one, you know, there. just picking up orange, because at the end of the day, once I've painted it, I can't get it back. Once I've painted a different colour over, I can't get it back. So I'm happy to go over and pick up these little orange roofs first up. There, the bits. There's a little roof there, and there's another little roof somewhere over there. Paint that whole thing, that's okay. A bit more ochre in this one in the foreground. Let's just say it's something like that for now. Okay, so I've got a hairdryer here which I'll use in a tick, but it's just a case of going through and adding a few other tones here and there. Light yellows. Better get them in now while I still can. Yeah, it's okay. So it's all merging into one into the other, and that's effectively sort of what I'm really trying to do. Just encourage the lighter and darker colours to just sort of merge where I see them needing to be darker. They can be darker, lighter. That's okay. It can be a little bit lighter, and let it bleed one into the other. That's okay. A bit of a light there, a bit dark in there. And that's fairly dark. That's okay. Yeah, now, that blue. See how blue, I don't know if you can pick it up, but the blue tends to, now this is rough paper. So what the blue tends to, blues seem to be very common for this particular thing, is that the granulation, the material that the blues are made out of, the minerals that are used to manufacture these colours, just the particles, it's just very interesting how the particles just end up loving to live in the divots of the paper. So they love to separate out and create this beautiful granulation through, on paper. So I can see that happening right there. Maybe I should have left that a little bit because it's a bit of a merge happening between the orange and the blue, so there's a bit of a funny green happening. That's okay. Again, it's more about this as a test more than anything else. Now, I'm going to let that dry, but I will carry through a blue now, just to quickly wash from the horizon down through the down through the foreground here. So, with that in mind, I'm going to start with a cerulean cobalt mix. Just for argument's sake, cerulean cobalt there. There's probably, it looks sort of greyish. I mean, I could probably throw in just a touch of this red, just to sort of start the purpliness of it happening. Maybe not too much, just a little bit, just to knock that off. So I'll start that through probably about there. Bring that colour and I've already got to start thinking about an emerald green touch into those colours already. A little bit of emerald green in there. So I already have an emerald green in and around there. I'm just going to really get some rich colours happening here. play with some nice rich colours so that I don't end up. Now, a little bit of water, I need a little bit of water. I don't want to end up with this going dry on me, so I have to work quick, just up into that port area, around those bridges, around these boats. These boats have sort of got a little bit of shape like that. Just again, around the boat, quickly. More. Let's pick up an edge to there. Quickly around the boats. As soon as I do those boats, shapes around the boats, I want to start working on some tones here. So very quickly now, cobalt, emerald. Get these two happening really quick. A lot of water. Cobalt and emerald. Let's get these colours happening in here. Bang, up into here. Because that's fairly dark up there. More of that. I've got a little bit of an angle on my page, so you know, but it's very dark up there too, so I really need a bit of French Ultra in there. French Ultra and also a bit more emerald. So let's get a bit more darkness happening up there. Very dark, in fact, extremely dark in there. Don't forget the emerald. So I've got to keep this really wet. I can't afford to get it to go too light too quick. Around that boat. Now as I pass these boats, I really want to lighten up. Very quickly lightening up. So let's lighten up with a little bit of cobalt and emerald. Emerald and cobalt. Let's try and get this to happen here. Here we go. So that's our emerald through there. Then it gets very dark again, very quick. So cobalt, French Ultra, emerald, even a little bit of the red, just because it's just knocks that tone off being just a straight color, straight green, so to speak. And this is still extremely wet, so we can still play around with some of the things that are happening in the depth of the water. So I'll make up a very quick sticky. French Ultra, emerald there as a sort of when I mean sticky, meaning less water. So less water, nice and sticky. I can throw some of those lines back in there and up further up there, also up by the actual building edge, and that sort of acts almost like a bit of a reflection shadow along over there as well, even in the shadows by the boats there. A bit there. You can see how the dispersion of those colours happens while the page is still wet. So here we go, it's sort of just adding a few of those things into the water. That's just going to look like you know, the submerged elements in the water. So now we've got to go back into an emerald again. So here's emerald with the cobalt again. We're now coming further south of the down here into these lower reaches. So let's just exit out with a little bit more of this emerald. Now, while it's emerald, you've got to still think about some of the warmer tones. So you throw in a little bit of yellow ochre, and you'll see that some of that yellow ochre will start washing up into the edge of the surf here. So you've got to really sort of allow the thinness of this wash help you here. So we're getting thinner and thinner and lighter and more yellowy as we work our way up the beach, because of course the water's getting very thin, and we're still slightly green, but there's a lot of, here we go, we're getting really light now. So there, and now literally washing that out to there, and now almost a little bit of yellow ochre, and that's it. Very washed out yellow ochre up the beach around these little canopies that are there. So you can sort of see we've sort of merged from, we've sort of transitioned from very dark tones. We had a bit of a nice cobalt cerulean blue to start with. And as you can see, even internally there inside that breakwater, that's going to be very dark in there, in and around those boats. I'm not fussed that I haven't painted too far in there. You know, it is what it is. It's a bit of a test. I haven't painted this scene before, but we're just seeing, you know, seeing how this one works. So these are the big ticket items. Then we're going to get in and do the building and a few other things like that. So let's work our way up the beach. So working our way up the beach, I'd just to sort of keep it fairly simple, I'm just going to work my way around the canopies with sort of a slightly ochre colour, just to sort of give some indication of it being sand and, you know, things like that. Not too worried about the exactness of what they are. And as I'm doing this, well, once I've done this, I'll then worry a bit more about, you know, the details of what's on the ground, like people. I'll drop in little bits of a tone once I've sort of sorted this initial colour out. So a little bit of work around these tents. But it's very light down here, so I'm not going to worry too much. Just get a little bit of ochre. I love the ochre. The ochre is gorgeous, rich, sort of, it's a beautiful orange, yellowy, sort of rich yellow. Love that colour. I've found other manufacturers just sort of, they really not so much struggle, but they just make, I've just noticed that burnt yellow ochre is just being really, yeah, I don't know, not so yellow ochre over the last little while. Now I'm just going to do a few quick brush strokes just to sort of help me at this stage with just having colours merge here and there. Got a little bit of this. Work my way up the building face, get nice and close. That's a good, little bit of dry brush there, a little bit of that English red, or yeah, maybe a little bit of green in there too, just to sort of knock that tone down. And very quickly, while we're still wet, now we're putting in colours, like so. That's, yeah, that's okay. I'm not fussed that they bleed and do all sorts of interesting things. A few few warm colours here and there. Okay. Okay. Oh, it leaks and goes everywhere. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to dry this. Yeah, dry that, and then we'll put down our next series of tones as well. So I'll just pull the old hairdryer out, which is suspended above us, and just give this a quick blast. So yeah, give us a tick and we'll get this happening. Oh, I better plug it in. So yes, I better plug it in. Here we go. Oh, wrong one. That one. Okay. Okay. Just lay that to the back. Okay, so generally that's pretty dry. Yeah, it's pretty dry. Get rid of that. And what we're wanting to do now is we're now wanting to put in a lot of these nice warm greys, some of these other greys that are really attracted to the back that sit on the facades of these buildings, and then we'll build up from those greys through around into the foreground and pick up these dark greys, and then we'll start a few little interesting details down here. But you can sort of see that this area here is just all soft tones. Those greens, the blues with the emerald have merged in nicely. There's a nice amount of granulation, soft wet on wet colour dropped onto other colours. You know, beautiful colours really. Emerald's nice, particularly nice. Got a lot of emerald coming through here. So again, we'll just continue. So now we have, again with my little synthetic brush, my little Kazan brush, Kazan by NEF. I'll put that one down here. But we'll now start making up these greys. So, excuse me, the greys that I normally use, I make up So I don't paint from a tube with grey paint. I make up my own greys, and so the greys that I use are generally, for this we need a light grey, so I'll start with a Cerulean Blue. Use some Cerulean Blue. I'll mix that up here. So it's a very creamy Cerulean Blue. I really like that about this Cerulean Blue. It's nice and creamy. There's a bit of that. A little bit of the Cad Red, just to, in fact, using those two colours, I don't need to make a third, although that there's too much red in that colour at the moment, so I'll add a little bit more of the Cerulean Blue back into that. Interesting colour combinations that I normally would have used an alizarin crimson. In this case I didn't do that. I could probably have mixed in some of the, maybe the lilac or something, just to give me the tones I was after. And I'm needing a little bit of yellow ochre. You see, even the yellow ochre tends to make that colour green, so it might be a case of just adding a bit of, you see, even the orange tends to make that grey slightly green. So what about if we try this brick? Oh no, the brick's good. The red, English red, that brick colour is very, very good. So a bit more blue. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to mix a brown grey, a sort of a very light brown grey. I'll add some water. I might just work my way around. So here we go. So this is fairly light. Yeah, okay, that's a nice grey. So I'm just going to work my way around this building, painting in these surfaces. Very quickly. You can sort of see how I'm just filling in, picking up some of these walls all around. On the elevation, here and there, and a few little runs like so. Then there's a little bit of grey on top, like that. Get that colour. Like so. Bit of water just to wet this down, but you can sort of generally get a feel for like so. That's already there. That one, like that. This roof. A little bit of that up there. So I'm filling in a lot of these shapes now with this warm grey, because it's this warm grey that sort of infuses a lot of this these old buildings here in Dubrovnik. And look, this is not going to be exact. It's not meant to be exact. It's really just a quick impression of what it sort of could be. You know, I mean, of what it is, but just my quick impression of it. So you can sort of see that grey, because I threw in some browns and some of the English red. You can sort of see how they're separating and bleeding out different colours. So they tend to separate. You can sort of see they've gone bluey. So the mixtures of cerulean blue tends to now separate out from those colours, and that's exactly what it's doing, separating out for me. My wife has just driven into the driveway, and hopefully she's just not going to come thundering in here. Although if she does, oh well, that's okay. She doesn't know what I'm up to. Well, I think she does, but we'll see. I think we'll see, won't we? No, she's gone into the house. So here we go. So this is really just an exercise where I'm just building up and working my way from one side to the other with this light, this light grey, warm grey, to be honest. Well, to be more accurate, warm grey around there, building like so, around underneath the roof. Then I've got, see, painting over the orange, I can now really start informing, the building facade just through painting shadows. So, painting shadows. If I wanted to darken that grey up, I just add either either a cobalt or the ultramarine, and the ultramarine will start to really darken this colour even further. So we've just drop more tone on top of the tone already. And here we go, further up the building up there, got a nice roof line, a few other little knickknacks. Then there's another shadow up there like so. Really long, deep shadow, short shadows. Some other stuff in there. And that's really what it is. It's just stuff. I call it stuff. Again, more building shadows through there. So there is a reason. I mean, there is method to the madness. It's just that I'm using this grey. It's unifying all of my colours together. So whilst I could paint and muck around with every other grey as well, I'm just using this one tone to just pull a lot of this elevation and really link right across the painting and round to the front here. Okay, there's that roof. There's another. Okay, there's that. Okay. Just working my way along now. So the sort of sparkle down by the waterfront happens through there. those other little elements here and there. A bit of the tower stuck on the side, like that, and there's whatever happens up there without getting too detailed. There's a little bit of a lighter spot up here and there. That's okay. A little bit of this light grey. A little bit of this light grey through there. And there is now a little bit of stuff in and around these boats. I'm just going to put a few dots. I'm not going to get too wound up in it at the moment, because there is still going to be the water. So I'm just picking up a few lines between boats and things on the waterfront. So identifying where the light is, to be honest, like that. Boats through there. Now the water, it's going to be nice and dark in amongst all of that. A little bit of cobalt, a little bit of French ultra or ultra. Sorry, I shouldn't say French, I should say ultra. A little bit of the red. Now the red tends to make everything go dark. I mean, it does, but it sort of has this brownness to it. So I know that's a little bit wet in there, but I'll start dropping it in because this is fairly dry. So obviously there are a few little bits of pieces underneath those canopies that are dark, so I can throw the dark in there. That's nice and definite. And then I'll start just picking up little pieces to literally identify the light in there. So I've eliminated the boat, the red boat, at the mouth of the opening, so I'm not going to really put that in, but let's just pick up some of these other bits through there. So now I'm just going to race along and pick up the boats, or at least the edges, the undersides of the boats. So notice it's not a straight line, it's an edge, and then there are boats against the back of, against the back of this rock wall here. So again, just picking some shapes that sort of might work, like so, linking them up. Washing them out a little bit, maybe a little bit of emerald in there while I can, just to lighten it a little, just to get a little flick of emerald in there. While it's still nice and wet, and then bring that tone down and out into this port area. So I know that that edge along the wall there is fairly dark, so let's see if we can't just use some of this dark that we've already generated here. Like that. And then it becomes fairly light. So I'm going to wash that out a bit. Wash my brush and then literally bleed that colour away. Bleed it away. And literally just painting almost over these ocean colours again, with almost a second glaze. So let's just see how we do that. I'm not going to do that everywhere, but certainly just a few lines here and there, just to sort of suggest a second line of tone over, maybe through there somewhere. Oh, well, you know, it's not that critical. But I really just wanted to get those darks in there, so into the harbour. You can sort of see that harbour's fairly dark. You don't want it that dark, or if it shouldn't be that dark, just wet your brush and, you know, extract some of it, you know, even like that. And that means that there's a little less, gives you more opportunity to put in some shadows later on. And that's okay. And we will put in some shadows and some darker tones later on. But anyway, I'll just give that another quick dry. Okay, so yeah, that was just a quick dry. It might not even be too dry, but very quickly, like, you know, if I was to be doing this, normally I'd be painting it 1.5 to 2 hours, thereabouts. That's sort of how long it takes me to paint these paintings. But this, I'm really just trying these paints, so I'm having a little bit of fun tonight and just, yeah, letting loose and trying a few different things. So I'm now just going to put in a sort of another level of darks and greys over the over that first lot that I put up in the buildings, on the building facades. So I'll just make up another batch. This is ultramarine, a little bit of English red, which means that the grey has a slight sort of yeah, it has a sort of a slight reddish tinge to it. I mean, ultimately, I suppose the best one would be just you know, let's try this, a French, or sorry, an ultra and a red gives you. See, now when you mix those two, it should give you a purple, but the red and the blue just give you this almost a brown. So it's a brown purple. Just sort of a weird colour, but you know, hey, it's a new experience. So I'm tackling it with both hands, jumping into it, both hands. So I'll wash that one down. Let's just draw one of these pans. So that's that colour. It's almost a very dark purpley grey. I'll wash it down a little bit just to thin it. And okay, then I'll go back over some of those, you know, the second series of darker walls that I was working with before. So here we go. You know, almost like a secondary series. That building up there, definitely. Through there. Got that there, there's little. So it's really just starting to build up, you know, the tones. And by no means is this, you know, going to be a true representation of this place. Far from it. It's just a nice quick impression that I'm playing with. So yeah, that's what I'm having some fun with. Some little windows here and there. So as you can see, we're sort of building up these tones. We're just working our way to getting darker and darker and darker and darker, so that by the time we get to where we want to be with our tones, you know, we're really quite dark. So as you can see, we're now right in the front here, main tower, and what happens with that main tower is that it's fairly dark. Oh, that's a bit of a muddy sort of colour. So let's start washing that tone out. Better square it up so it doesn't look too daggy. Just combine the colours. Get some shape to these little canopies down there. So I've sort of pulled that colour down through underneath these canopies, continuing that shadow play along this awning. I need there's some sort of thing there, then there's these two dark entrance ways through there. So that's them. Let's get a little bit of colour dropped into there. Yeah, okay, that sort of helps a little. Then obviously, you know, you've got a lot of these little windows, so they're just little flicks and flecks, and yeah, probably got a few wrong shapes here and there, but oh well. You know, if I was to paint it perfectly, I would have, you know, probably got out my tape measure and got it all accurate, but this is just having a little bit of fun here. So yeah, not too fussed. Got windows, then that building facade right over here. That's really dark as well. Looking at a few things now. There's a few little high contrasting little rocks and things over there. It's important to leave things out, so you're not painting everything. So that's one of the things I'll do. I will on purpose not paint everything. But we do have a dark foreshore edge, so that's progressively just getting darker and darker and darker. And things are left in silhouette. So as you can see, as we build these colours up progressively, all of these little all of the colours I'm using are just getting, we start with light and it just gets darker and darker and darker and darker. So as a quick little painting, here we go. Notice I'm still working on all of that stuff at the back, wondering how that looks. you know, I should perhaps have knocked it back and, you know, worried more about the foreground, but really I'm wanting to focus in on a lot of those high contrast elements here, and a lot of this stuff here will end up being more secondary than anything else. So just picking up, just continually picking up a few little details, little lines, little suggestions. There might be another one. There, maybe one. There's a little piece in there that's a little bit darker, so like so. Again, not worrying too much. Don't worry too much about exactness of detail. I mean, obviously, you know, if there are little windows and apertures and things like that, you can play around with those, sure. But yeah, and there are other ones in the darkness of that, and that's okay. Further changes in tone. These yeah, I've got a few shapes wrong here. Oh well, that's the nature of the animal. Running along so quick, you won't get it all, and nor should you be worried about it all. It's just a suggestion. Working my way through it. Yeah, a little bit of darkness there. Bit down there. And there's another dark piece under there. And some other bits there. Knickknacks like that. Yep. Yeah. Now we can sort of move forward. So we've got a few little. Yeah, that's okay. Now moving forward into the foreground here and getting these boats sorted. So a few little dry brush elements there. I'm not going to get too worried about being too accurate with those boats, but really a little bit of dry brush so that they're just more gestures than anything else on these boats. So yeah, there we go. Like that, side of the boat. Some yeah, just some that's okay. Continually add to that the darkness along here, because it is very dark. There's 3 windows, 1, 2, 3. Then you've got these ones here on this facade too. Now they're important for that structure. So a few darks up in there, and then these windows. Same with those apertures. And then the darkest, a little bit of water, not a lot. So ultramarine, a little bit of this red, just so that you're making a nice sticky dark purple effectively. More of that. And it's this shadow in underneath that canopy, so let's put that. This is the so that's literally the shadow underneath those canopies, and now we're just putting in these really, really nice little darks in between and around those boats. Just along that foreshore there. Like so, those are the darkest little areas in there. Little knickknacks in the shadows. A few things floating around there. Could be people. Who knows? Could be few little knickknacks here. Throw some other colours in there too, but that's getting there. That. I just squeeze the colour out. Now, in terms of these rocks in the foreground and what we do in the foreground, for example, I mean, beyond this just being a bit of a demo, I'm literally now playing just with these real high contrasts. So I'll throw a dark in there and quickly just paint that without being too committed to making it seriously solid. I will make that edge dark. Otherwise, you know, with these other colours here, I'm just going to work with the English red, the orange, to literally just give ourselves, and we can merge these colours here, drag that down, because we're now creating these rocks. So let's create some rock shapes down here. I've got it extending out to there, so really nice and thin. A few little dry brushy bits. That, and then introduce that grey that we've been playing with again. In fact, make up another batch, just make up another quick batch of that. Blue and the red, ultramarine and red rather, or ultra, make that nice and dark and sticky, and just drop that in almost as a bit of a dry brush through there. so. Got some edges. Like so, and then you've got that dark colour again down here to the water's edge. So we want to sort of get it fairly, see the dry brush strokes, you want to do those sorts of strokes down here. You don't want to get too carried away with a lot of water and wishy-washy stuff, but controlling how much moisture you've got in your brush so you can do these quick dry brush strokes. Yeah, so you know, again, it's sort of these stones out in the middle of nowhere. Preserve the white wherever you can. As I go over it and destroy it. I've probably overdone it, so anyway, too dark. I'm trying to get through it quick, so yeah, nice watery. And then this wall, again that light grey. I'm just going to run this grey through there. I don't mind some of this gravel character in it. Like so, and as that's drying, I'll probably just drop in, I'll drop in a little bit of the shadow on the underside of the eaves. There's not much of an eaves, but just a little bit of an edge up there. And I'll just make that up with one of these greys, maybe add a little bit of brown. And it'll probably bleed like hell, so let's just see what happens. Yeah, like that. So it's a soft edge, and it will probably run down. I don't know how far it will run down. It's dry there, so it's just going to bleed everywhere else, I suspect. But that'll do for there. I won't worry about trying anything else there. If you wanted to replicate that bush or something, I mean, you can sort of add some darks, but I'll just leave it like that. That's okay. And then working your way down to through the figures. I mean, again, a fairly light, a light purple. I'm not going to get too dark on it, but now you're dealing with the shadows underneath, and so you're really just trying to pick up on where those umbrellas are and the figures underneath those umbrellas, So there's little suggestions and knick-knack, sort of. Don't forget you've got to displace the shadow from the umbrella itself. So and for the purpose of this painting, I'm just going to sort of drift a lot of those details out in a way, just sort of just draw them out into nothingness, really, without getting too specific. You know, you don't want to be specific and make any one of these look like a person. You just want suggestions. So there's little things that look like legs. There's things that look like heads, and you know, just all little suggestions. You know, maybe a person sitting in the shadow. You don't know whether they're. I mean, you know, it's just they're just shapes, funny shapes, or just a yeah, pretty much. I don't know how to express that in words, but it's just that sort of real fine little grain people. So I'm not even going to worry about them. It's more of a head and a body, heads and bodies, and that's pretty much it. Head and a shape. You know, you're going to be struggling if you're going to be trying to paint figures out here. You're really going to be struggling. So it's just you're almost just painting shadows and things. And things like that. For example, that is. So really now, what I tend to do now is I'll sort of go back, but now I'll take a rigger and I'll play around with some more of the finer detail. How's that look? How's that looking? It's probably over detailed, but hey, it's just a demo. So I noticed though there's no, in the painting set, it's an interesting one. I noticed there is no white. That's okay. You know, some people don't paint in black, others don't paint in white. I'm not fussed. It's an interesting set. Very gorgeous colours. I have yet to try them all, so I have not. I haven't finished with them. I'm going to put down a little bit of white. This is not a NEVSKAYA Palitra white. It's a Winsor Newton Cotmans. But I'm just going to have that here, as I might just throw in a few masts and little details here and there. So I'll leave that on the corner. But for now, I'm just going to work with my little finer brush and make a nice sticky dark, and then work in some of my last little details and a few little masts, a little bit of rigging, a few little details here and there. I might throw in a little bit of colour in the foreground. I haven't done so as yet, but even with that, I can throw in some darker tones here and there. That's okay. So yeah. Let's see what a couple of these windows. And these are fairly you know, these can be the odd little dry brush line here or there. Now, masts for the boats. There's only a few in the dark range. I mean, a lot of them will end up being the white ones. So yeah, this is a teeny weeny brush, and I don't normally paint with these little teeny weeny things, but it seems to be about the right scale for what I'm tackling at the moment. So a few little people and out here and there, a couple of people. A few little people here and there. Now, a little bit of richness. So even with a bit of red and some of those mixed colours, we can throw in a little bit of red here and there. Even the roofs of these boats have a little bit of red here and there. There's a bit of red. Oh, that wasn't. Yep, that's okay. Saved it. Yay. Bit of red here and there. So just adding a little bit of that little sparkle in there. Move those out of the way. There's a few little, yeah, I mean I could go and put tones and colours, you know, over the top, but I won't, because again, it'll just create problems. Nice, gorgeous orange. That's gorgeous. That's a beautiful orange. So let's just do those figures. And yeah, I mean, without going too crazy, there's a little bit of blue with the green. I might just enliven one of those greens. A bit of green in there. Yeah, without getting too, yeah, I'm not going to get too worked up with this foreground. I mean, there is, you know, and I didn't even get into playing with the yellow, but that's okay. And a little bit of green and blue. For example, to do the canopies. Very so they all come from one place. That's all right. As a quick suggestion, doesn't have to be perfect. And just to sort of round off. Suddenly we have some three-dimensionality to it. Without perhaps there being any before, so that's okay. If you really want to be pedantic, then you know obviously these figures have got little shadows, you know, underneath them, all that sort of stuff. So it depends on how how crazy you want to go. I'll just throw in one or two other little colours, and we should be about right. So one or two other little colours. I'm just going to work with this orange because I just want to add one or two little rich tones here and there. So this roof, for example. Just one or two. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, one more. Yeah. Anyway, that'll do. Otherwise it starts to get too overworked. So that was a very quick little painting. And apart from it being a painting for the purpose of a painting, for it just to be a bit of a demo, what I was doing is I was really trying out these gorgeous paints. So I've tried a few of them. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I really love those oranges. And even, I mean, look, I really wanted to try the turquoises and the blues, the French, or the ultramarines, the cobalts and the ceruleans. And, you know, the colours that I normally use. I'm really impressed with the yellow ochre. It just has a really nice golden yellow feel about it. And the way the colours mix, really nice. In terms of what I'm seeing on the palette, forget about the white paint here because that's from somewhere else. But I really love the creaminess of the cerulean blue. you know, I did mix here in the top the cerulean blue with a bit of cobalt, so I'm getting a little bit of granulation. You can see where the colours are separated, and the blue tends to create these little milky ponds. I've noticed that where the cerulean blue, like if it's bleeding down, it bleeds down and leaves you this little milkiness, these nice milky creamy milk ponds from the cerulean. But I actually like that about cerulean blue, so I'm really keen to try this a bit more, because I could see I really like that sort of effect, so I'm really keen on trying a little bit more of how that works. Yeah, different paper, maybe some ash, see how it goes. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Well, with the colours, not so much about the painting. The painting is a painting, but you know, it was just always going to be a quick experiment. But so far, NEVSKAYA Palitra is really nice. I've only tried half a dozen of these colours, or maybe, you know, up to about 8 or so, but I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, if I can, yeah, if you get a chance, by all means, you know, have a crack at these. Have a look at these paints. From what I'm seeing so far, they're really good. So I'm going to be painting more. If I'm doing one tonight, obviously I'll finish this one tonight. I'm going to have a crack at another one, hopefully tomorrow night, so around the same time, see how I go. But it'll be just another painting, trying these NEVSKAYA Palitra paints again. So thank you, Elena, for supplying me with those paints, and thanks to distributors here in Australia. I can't remember the names. I'll remember for tomorrow, so I can give them a plug as well. But yeah, so far it's been enjoyable to have a paint with these, and to yeah, to experiment with them. So thanks for coming along. Hope you've enjoyed the painting. It wasn't really something that I'd necessarily write home to Mum about, but it was yeah, it was just fun to paint, and hopefully we can try and replicate it again tomorrow night, or maybe if not tomorrow night, then what's tonight? Tuesday. If not Wednesday night, then maybe Thursday night. We'll see how we go. Oh no, Thursday night I can't. Maybe Friday night. We'll see how we go. Thanks again for turning up. Hope you've enjoyed it.